Welcome back to Politically Disengaged by Cortez, and I'm Cortez. On today's episode, we're talking about universal basic income, otherwise known as the freedom dividend. Let's begin by hearing what Andrew Yang has to say about his proposed freedom dividend.
If you've heard anything about me and my campaign, you've heard this. There's an Asian man running for president who wants to give everyone $1,000 a month. Yes. All three of those things are true. It sounds like a gimmick, but this is a deeply American idea.
So my plan, the freedom dividend, would give every American adult $1,000 a month, $12,000 a year starting at age 18. This would create millions of jobs around the country and would allow families and individuals to help manage this historic transition that we're in terms of technology transforming the labor force.
Now, where does the money go? It would go right back into your communities. It would go to car repairs you've been putting off, daycare, Little League signups. It would revitalize your Main Street economies. It would create 40,000 new jobs here in Iowa. It would help give rural areas a real path forward because we know rural areas are getting sucked dry by today's economy. This is the vision of a trickle-up economy from our people, our families, and our communities up.
So what is universal basic income, or UBI? Let's take a look.
What if the state covered your cost of living? Would you still go to work? Go back to school? Not work at all? What would you do? This concept is called a Universal Basic Income, or UBI, and it's nothing less than the most ambitious social policy of our times. In 2017, basic income is gaining momentum around the world. First trials are ongoing or on their way, and a growing number of countries are considering UBI as an alternative to welfare. How would it work, and what are the key arguments for and against? Right now, people can't really agree what universal basic income is or should be. Some want to use it to eliminate welfare and cut bureaucracy. Others want it as a free extra for existing programs, or even want it to be so high that work itself becomes optional. For this video, we'll talk mostly about the minimum basic income, enough money to be above the poverty line. In the US, this means about $1,000 a month or $12,000 a year. The money would not be taxed, and you could do whatever you wanted with it. In this scenario, UBI is a way of transferring the wealth of a society while still keeping the free market intact.
So now that we know what universal basic income is, let's take a look at the history of UBI in the United States. In 1785, Thomas Paine advocated for UBI at the founding of the country. In 1967, Martin Luther King Jr. wanted to eradicate poverty with a guaranteed income. In 1970, under Richard Nixon, a minimum income passed the House and failed in the Senate twice because Democrats wanted more. In 1980, famed economist Milton Friedman endorsed a negative income tax. So let's see what Martin Luther King had to say about a guaranteed income.
Come a long way in our understanding of human motivation and of the blind operation of our economic system. Negroes who have a double disability will have a greater effect on discrimination when they have the additional weapon of cash to use in their struggle. The poor transformed into purchasers will do a great deal on their own to alter housing decay.
Now, one of the answers, it seems to me, is a guaranteed annual income, a guaranteed minimum income for all people and for all families of our country.
Once they are placed in this position, we need to be concerned that the potential of the individual is not wasted. A host of positive psychological changes inevitably will result from widespread economic security. The dignity of the individual will flourish when the decisions concerning his life are in his own hands, when he has the assurance that his income is stable and certain, and when he knows that he has the means to seek self-improvement. Personal conflicts between husband, wife, and children will diminish when the unjust measurement of human worth on a scale of dollars is eliminated.
So Martin Luther King Jr. foresaw the effects that a universal basic income could have on the economy. He knew that in order for us to get ahead, that we needed to leave the mindset of scarcity and adopt the mindset of abundance. Andrew Yang wants to take on Martin Luther King's vision with the freedom dividend. Now, even though no one asks how we pay for the wars or corporate bailouts, the number one question that we have for the freedom dividend is how do we pay for it? So check out this video from Nerds for Yang.
The headline cost of this is $2.4 trillion, which sounds like an awful lot. For reference, the economy is $19 trillion, up $4 trillion in the last 10 years, and the federal budget is $4 trillion. So $2.4 trillion seems like an awfully big slug of money. But if you break it down, the first big thing is to implement a value-added tax, which would harvest the gains from artificial intelligence and big data from the big tech companies that are going to benefit from it the most. So we have to look at what's happening big picture, who are going to be the winners from AI and big data and self-driving cars and trucks. It's going to be the trillion-dollar tech companies, Amazon, Apple, Google. So the big trap we're in right now is that as these technologies take off, the public will see very little in the way of new tax gains from it. Because if you look at these big tech companies, Amazon's trick is to say, didn't make any money this quarter, no taxes necessary. Google's trick is to say, it all went through Ireland, nothing to see here. And so even as these companies and the new technologies soak up more and more value and more work, the public is going to go into increasing distress. So what we need to do is we need to join every other industrialized country in the world and pass a value-added tax, which would give the public a sliver of every Amazon transaction, every Google search. And because our economy is so vast now at $19 trillion, a value-added tax at even half the European level would generate about $800 billion in value. Now, the second source of money is that right now we spend almost $800 billion on welfare programs. And many people are receiving more than $1,000 in current benefits, so we're going to leave all the programs alone. But if you think $1,000 cash would be better than what you're currently receiving, then you can opt in and your current benefits disappear. So that reduces the cost of the freedom dividend by between $500 and $600 billion. Now, the great parts are the third and fourth parts. So if you put $1,000 a month into the hands of American adults who right now 57% of Americans can't pay an unexpected $500 bill, they're going to spend that $1,000 in their community on car repairs, tutoring for their kids, the occasional night out. It's going to go directly into the consumer economy. And so if you grow the consumer economy by 12%, we get $500 billion in new tax revenue. And then the last $500 billion or so we get through a combination of cost savings on incarceration, homelessness services, healthcare. Because right now we're spending about $1 trillion on people showing up in emergency rooms and hitting our institutions.
So, what is a value-added tax? Now, many people ask, is a value-added tax regressive? Since consumer staples like food and clothes will be exempt, the average person would have to spend in excess of $10,000 for it to be regressive. So yes, when you shop on Amazon and get that new tablet, you may pay into the VAT. But also that celebrity or billionaire will be paying millions into the VAT when they buy all of their luxury goods. So when you see that celebrity buying his new gold chain or a yacht, you know that that purchase will be giving you $1,000 a month. So we also have trillion and billion dollar companies like Amazon, Netflix, Google that are paying zero in taxes. More than you and I both. It's time that they start paying their fair share as well. So I stated before that everyone in the United States gets the freedom dividend as a right of citizenship. But other programs like food stamps and other cash benefits will be opt-in or you lose those benefits. Many people hate navigating the bureaucracy, and only 1 out of 4 people who need assistance have benefits. Here's a clip of a caseworker discussing some of the issues with their welfare system.
First of all, it takes a lot of time to apply for and receive public assistance benefits. Someone needs to 1. Fill out an application, gather documents, 2. Interview with a caseworker, and 3. Provide regular updates thereafter, assuming they're approved. Let's start with filling out an application. It takes 2 to 3 hours for the average person to fill out an application for public assistance benefits. Why? Because the applicant needs to provide extensive data about themselves and the people in their household. For example, applicants need to provide all of their demographic information as well as demographic information for others who live in their house. They also need to provide employment, income, resources, and other information needed to determine eligibility. In Pennsylvania, under the Corbett administration, SNAP applicants faced an asset test, which forced applicants to provide information about vehicles and other assets. Any vehicle beyond a primary vehicle counted as an asset and therefore affected eligibility. Applicants in rural towns who had junker cars in their front yards that they used for spare parts were technically required to include the value of those cars as assets. All of this meant additional time spent gathering data and entering it into the application. Applications can be completed online or on paper. The paper application is typically 20+ pages long, and we all know that manually filling out paperwork takes forever. On the other hand, someone who's not tech savvy would require lots of time to complete an online application. Let's keep things in perspective. People seeking government assistance benefits are often facing a crisis. The last thing they want to do or have time to do is run around gathering information and completing paperwork. Think visiting the DMV while your house is on fire. Once an application is complete, the next step is to submit the application and wait for a response. Oftentimes, the caseworker contacts an applicant because they need additional information, pay stubs, etc. This can potentially add hours to the process. SNAP applicants also need to do a phone interview with a caseworker. Scheduling and completing this interview takes time. There are missed calls, having to rearrange schedules. This takes time away and productivity. Assuming a person becomes eligible for SNAP, then from there on out they have to constantly update their caseworker about changes to their income, employment, address. Every life change, big and small, that could affect eligibility needs to be reported. Here's the kicker. SNAP benefits are paltry. According to the USDA, the maximum amount a family of 10 can receive in SNAP benefits is $1,456. A single person, $194 a month. Again, these are maximums. Eligible applicants often receive their SNAP assistance in the form of a debit card. Here's the next kicker. SNAP benefits have limited scope. SNAP benefits can't be used to buy vitamins, medicines, supplements, prepared foods, or even toothpaste. Let that sink in. Your doctor says you need to up your B12 intake. Can't use SNAP to buy those vitamins. Need to buy a pre-made sandwich on your way to work? Can't use SNAP. Need tampons. Sorry, SNAP is not allowed. These are all things we consume, but they're barred from SNAP funds. Another unfortunate side effect of public assistance benefits is that they incentivize you to limit your income. If you make too much money, you lose your benefits. When you're on public assistance, it's almost as if your job becomes continuing to receive public assistance. Taking these things into consideration, the Freedom Dividend is exponentially superior to a public assistance benefit like SNAP.
If that exhausted you, imagine being hungry or in a bind or just in need. So why do we need a universal basic income? As mentioned in my video, the robots are here. We are in the midst of the 4th industrial revolution. where technology is taking off in unprecedented ways, and we haven't been keeping up as a society. The gap between the wealthy and the poor is ever increasing as more technology leaves the lab. We need a radical change that will spur growth, entrepreneurship, volunteerism, creativity, innovation, and more. So if we implement the freedom dividend, what are the benefits? Let's take a look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So let's start with your basic needs. The freedom dividend provides folks with no other income the resources to meet their most basic needs and find employment. Security. The freedom dividend provides folks living paycheck to paycheck with flexible savings and financial security. Social needs. The freedom dividend provides folks with optimism and peace of mind to invest in relationships and or start a family. Esteem needs. The freedom dividend provides folks freedom to leave exploitive jobs or relationships with resources to fall back on. Self-actualization. The freedom dividend enables folks to be the best they can be by replacing a mindset of scarcity with a mindset of abundance. Some other benefits are: eradicate poverty in America, improve child nutrition and graduation, create 4.5 million new jobs, address regional inequalities, make labor markets more dynamic and help people move, catalyst for entrepreneurship, arts, and creativity, compensate women for an unrecognized work, ease racial inequality, improve mental and physical health and relationships, alleviate political dysfunction due to scarcity. Let's take a look at the benefits of universal basic income from recipients of the Freedom Dividend and other similar programs.
Tia Cunningham works at a senior living facility where she makes $10.31 an hour.
What does your paycheck usually look like?
Between $500 and $600.
$500 and $600.
Yes, ma'am. This every 2 weeks.
Now, with the additional money, she's chosen to pay down debt, $3,000 so far.
I was able to pay bills off, get my credit straight.
And go visit her father in Pennsylvania, something she couldn't afford for 20 years.
It was emotional. I wish I could spend more time with them.
So when I received the Freedom Dividend, I didn't really have a plan.
I don't even think it really registered. Yeah, I don't know. It's just a lot to process all at once.
It's been a mental relief. I have had the opportunity to pay off my student loan. Yes! It's one of those things that just lingers with you. It's like, no matter what you do, it doesn't go anywhere.
You live every day of your life, walking on a razor's edge. It's like going years with just like somebody constantly looming over you emotionally, abusing you and dragging you down, and then one day you just wake up and you're free of that.
I take care of my parents financially, from rent, food, most importantly, my love. We spend a lot more time together, just a bit more at ease and relaxed.
I just started my own business also, and I have this year to lay the groundwork. I have this year to put a footprint out into the community.
I've heard from more than a couple people, it's just an extra $1,000 a month. That's not going to go very far, but it's like, that just kind of shows how out of touch I think some people are.
It's more than just getting $1,000 a month. This is something that can actually change the entire paradigm. You have the ability to now rewrite your narrative.
Studies have also shown other effects of basic income, such as new mothers extend their maternity leaves, students focus on school and grades improve, slight decrease in alcohol and tobacco use, improve cognitive functioning and fewer behavioral disorders, savings go up and debts go down, increases conscientiousness, hospitalizations rates decline, reduces crime, home ownership increase rates, depression decreases, stress decreases, confidence in the future improves, financial security improves, and also physical and mental health improves. I also think that the freedom dividend is a great catalyst to lowering gun violence. Most shooters are men, and the freedom dividend would provide capital necessary to create a positive future for yourself. Let's take a look at common misconceptions of universal basic income. Other than paying for UBI, the most common questions are, won't UBI cause inflation, and won't landlords jack up the prices $1,000 a month? Here is Andrew Yang taking on those questions.
I looked into the causes of inflation that are making Americans miserable right now, and they are not in consumer goods like media or clothing or electronics.
Those
or
are
even
all
food.
getting cheaper, still getting much cheaper.
Yeah, and a lot of that is being made more efficient by technology and supply chains and everything else. The three things that are making Americans miserable in terms of inflation are housing, education, and healthcare. And each of those is being driven by something other than purchasing power. Housing is being driven by the fact in some markets people feel like they need to live in, let's say, New York or Seattle or San Francisco to be able to access certain opportunities, and then there's like not much flexibility in terms of their ability to commute, like a long distance. Education, it's because college has very, very sadly gotten 2.5 times more expensive, even though it has not gotten 2.5 times better. And then the third is healthcare, which is dysfunctional because of a broken set of incentives and the fact that individuals aren't really paying in a marketplace. So if you put $1,000 in the hands of Americans, it's actually going to help them manage those expenses much better, but it's not going to cause prices to skyrocket because you can't have every vendor colluding with every other vendor to raise prices, and there's still going to be price sensitivity among every consumer and competition between firms.
Real estate and other markets are supply and demand and are very competitive. If the landlord is jacking up the rent, I'll just move. Same with any other industry. Some other common misconceptions are that people will work less. Studies have shown that people who work less are mothers and students. And another common misconception is that poor people or people living in poverty will spend their money on drugs and alcohol. And that is not true. UBI has also been mentioned by famed scientist Stephen Hawking, billionaires Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk, and also former President of the United States, Barack Obama.
The biggest challenge to workers in countries like mine today is technology. And the biggest challenge for your new president, when we think about how we're going to employ more people here, is going to be also technology, because artificial intelligence is here and it is accelerating. And you're going to have driverless cars, and you're going to have more and more automated services. And that's going to make the job of giving everybody work that is meaningful tougher. And we're going to have to be more imaginative. And the pace of change is going to require us to do more fundamental reimagining of our social and political arrangements to protect the economic security and the dignity that comes with a job. It's not just money that a job provides. It provides dignity and structure and a sense of place and a sense of purpose. And so we're going to have to consider new ways of thinking about these problems, like a universal income, review of our work week, how we retrain our young people, how we make everybody an entrepreneur at some level. But we're going to have to worry about economics if we want to get democracy back on track.
There are currently 42 million African Americans living in the United States. About 37 million are adults. About 30%, which is about 11 million, live in poverty. So giving $37 billion into the hands of Black people every single month would help lift 11 million people from poverty. So how will $1,000 a month help you? Will it lift their minds out of the scarcity mindset and into the level of abundance? Will it make us stronger, healthier, and safer? Personally, I think the freedom dividend will be the most radical and effective change this world has ever seen. It has the possibility to provide endless opportunities and give my fellow African Americans a floor to build upon and race towards equality. According to Andrew Yang, it's an idea whose time has come. So as always, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to my videos. Thank you for watching.